So observation pacing is based on a combination of teacher licensure status and the individual growth or level of overall effectiveness score. Most districts base their pacing on the overall level of effectiveness. To base on individual growth scores, that is a setting that is chosen in the spring when your district completes the flexibility options survey for team, where you configure everything else for team. So we've got two licensure status. We've got the practitioner and the professional. And based on either the individual growth or level of overall effectiveness, teachers are put into categories. Basically, a practitioner level 1 to 4 has a full evaluation. A level 5 only has one of each. For professional, it's broken into 3. Level 1 has a full. Levels 2 through 4 only have 2 instructional, and a level 5 has just one of each. There's also a minimum number of requirements per school year to meet these. This is part of state board policy. All teachers should have at least 1/2 of all observations be unannounced. So half of their observations have to be unannounced, and at a minimum of 1 observation must be announced. For teachers scoring a level 5 on individual growth or level of effectiveness, their required observation should be unannounced, because state board policy requires that half are unannounced. They only have 1, so that 1 should be an unannounced observation. All observations for teachers using the school services personnel rubric should be announced to keep students' privacy at the forefront of the evaluation process. An LEA or charter using the team model may choose to allow observers to combine domains during classroom observations, provided the requisite minimum time is met and the semester distribution and notice, they're unannounced versus announced, are met. As long as you meet all of those requirements, you can combine. The number of required observations for each educator who receives a PYE in the previous year. If they're PYE the previous year, they're exempt. And it shall, so if they were they were PYE in the prior year, to determine the observations for the current year, you look at the year preceding, immediately preceding the PYE year. If they were PYE for that year, you move on back to the next year. But the first time you find a non-PYE year, that's what will determine their pacing. So if an educator was PYE in 2022-23, you would base their pacing off of the 21-22 school year. If they do not have an LOE for 21-22 and they're not PYE, they would receive the maximum number of observations based on their licensure type. So you will look back until they are not PYE and could generate. If they did not generate, they get full pacing.
Hey, Amy, I want to pause just real quick. I just want to make sure, because Gerald's having trouble seeing the PowerPoint. Is anybody else having trouble seeing the PowerPoint, or y'all able to see the presentation? Okay, Gerald, I think we can see it on our end. You may need to look at your settings or log out and come back in.
He can see it now.
Okay.
All right, thanks. So to monitor pacing in TN Compass, there is a report that you should use. You go to the reports tab. You would click on reports in the report type. The report is from the drop-down menu, select pacing guide. Make sure you're in the correct school year. You can run this pacing guide for your whole district. You can run it for each individual school, however it works best for you. I always load mine in an Excel format and then click generate. This is a relatively long spreadsheet, so I've kind of broken it up and given you the columns and the letters of each column to help walk through this. So in columns A through G, you just have some basic information. You have the school year, your district, and your school information, and the type of educator, either a teacher, an instructional supervisor, or a principal, or you shouldn't have a non-instructional person there. Columns H through M give you information about the educator. So you've got the educator's TLN, their name, email, that kind of information, or have they been marked PYE, what your evaluation model is, and what licensure type their pacing is based off of in column M. Columns N through V are the columns that will give you the information about how they're doing towards pacing. So column N has the minimum instructional requirement for this educator. This educator required 2. Then you can see in column O how many instructional observations they have completed. That's 1. So that tells me that 1 was completed in the fall. They've still got another one to go in the spring. Column P talks about the planning requirement. This teacher's required 1 planning. That planning has already been observed. I can see that in column K. Column R is the environment requirement. They're required 1. Column S tells me that that environment has not been observed. T is the professionalism. This teacher, everybody requires 1, and that has not yet been observed. So in column V, I can see that the teacher has not yet met pacing, which is what I would expect for a teacher that was requiring 2. Actually, I would not expect any teacher to have met pacing at this point, because typically you're going to do your professionalism at the end of the year. So, but this teacher, I would consider this teacher to be on track with their pacing. They need one more instruction. They need their environment, and then they'll need their professionalism before they meet pacing. But this would give a principal a quick snapshot at how they're doing by looking at this, and where they need to, if they need to catch somebody up, if somebody's behind, they need to be looking at this to make sure everybody meets pacing. There are additional T and Compass reports regarding observations. The staff observers report will tell you the names of all the educators in your district who have passed either one or both certification tests for evaluation. They can be either certified to observe teachers or leaders, and those permissions can be given in the administration tab. If they have not passed the certification test, you can still assign them those permissions, but T and Compass will not allow them to enter any observations. The observation summary report just provides a completion status of observations and walkthroughs by schools. This is where you can see walkthroughs if you are tracking those. It includes total observations, total announced, total scored, and total walkthroughs, and a total by each domain. And then the observation summary report provides just the completion status of observations and walkthroughs at the district level. So it's basically the same report, but it's at the district level. So your next steps are to begin monitoring pacing to ensure all educators meet the required pacing. I suggest sharing these reports with your observers. If you needed to, you could filter it by, if you have a particular person who is assigned to observe these 10 teachers, you can filter that down by those 10 teachers and hand that report to that observer so they can see where they are. The team website are some resources for you, as always. We will post the office hours recording under the recently released on the team website, and it will be on the office hours tab. The teacher evaluation handbook under the evaluation tab can also be useful for you when conducting evaluations. These are the legal references. This is where all the information is from all of the things that we talked about, all of the policies, all of the pacing guides, when observations should occur. That can all be found. Most of it is found in state board rule or policy. Next month, we are not going to monitor observation pacings. We're going to start talking about monitoring growth and achievement scores. Always, you can email the team questions if you have any questions.